Today on What's Next.
She said, you know what? If you're going to survive this, I might not. But if you're going to survive this, you need to get out of the house.
I love the sense of smell. And one of the things I love about the sense of smell is you can't bookmark it. You can't save it for later. You can't glut yourself on it.
And it is like a major role reversal that you become the parent for the children to say you need to get rid of this. You don't need it anymore.
Hello and welcome back to What's Next. This is the show whose goal is really nothing short of inspiring, exciting, and encouraging you to lean into life, to plan for the future, but to live in the moment, to occasionally take a walk down memory lane, but to always keep moving forward, to be intentional about how you spend your time and to connect with the world around you. And joining me today here at GBHQ, our Chief Meteorologist and Goodwill Ambassador, Amy Sweezy, our Chief Storyteller, Bill Schaefer, and from the Dr. James Worldwide Headquarters in Philadelphia, the Chief Motivator, Dr. James Smith Jr. And today we're going to dig into the importance of connections. We're talking about social connections with those around us and physical connections with the world that surrounds us. And Bill, you got a great story to get us started today. One about a man whose connection with nature gave him the strength to endure even during his darkest days.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I think we're going to find this one pretty interesting because it's a guy who didn't know he had a connection with nature or anything like that at all. And that's what to watch for in this story, because sometimes we don't know where life is going to take us. Even a guy like Mark Potter, after 40 years as a network news reporter chasing the action all over the world, he had no idea that the most important story he would ever tell would come after he retired. His story. And it started when his wife was diagnosed with terminal cancer.
As we drove home from that first visit from the doctor, my wife said, I've just been given a death sentence. And I said, no.
Instead of retirement, their days were crammed with appointments, tests, treatments, doctors, and learning all they could.
The treatment worked really well. The cancer went down. At one point, she went into remission, and we were feeling really good. But then a subsequent diagnosis came that the cancer had returned.
This news was shocking and heartbreaking.
But now I see my life partner slipping away. That was as bad as, if not worse, than the original diagnosis.
To the point where she started to be worried about you.
And she had every right to be. I was having a really hard time. I mean, I became depressed, I became anxious. I was just fearful, I was angry, I was exhausted more than anything else, because cancer care is 24/7. And she saw that in me, and she said, you know what, if you're going to survive this, I might not. But if you're going to survive this, you need to get out of the house. And so I picked photography, and I started going to Matheson Hammock Park, a mile and a half from the house, and that's where that journey began.
He began to take photos of the sunrise every single morning, mostly because he could be back home before Judith would need him. He had no idea what a difference it would make.
The most critical mistake I made was I isolated. I withdrew into our world alone, the world of cancer, hospitals, doctors, my wife, me. I shut the door on a lot of support that I could have had. And when I started putting the pictures out, finally on social media, and I started getting some incoming from people, then I realized, oh man, this is really important. And they're saying these make me feel calmer, they give me a reason to get out of bed, some use the word inspiring, and they said, we want more. Can you keep doing this? And that began a conversation that started pulling me out of the depths. That was as important as anything else, was that reconnection with people who I had pushed away as I focused in too much on just cancer care.
And then on April 12th, 2019, Judith lost her battle. Mark would have been left with nothing. But as insignificant as it seems, his sunrise photography routine was a lifeline, a never-ending gift from Judith that helped him keep going.
It gave me a purpose. It gave me a purpose. It gave me a reason to get up out of bed every day, besides taking care of my wife. And that continued after her passing. 4 years ago. It gave me a purpose every day to get up and put these photos out, learn how to do this, get better, and always put them out and share them with people.
4 years after her death, and he still gets up before the sun, takes his photos, and posts them on Facebook and Instagram, helping others who are struggling to hold on to hope, reminding them of the beauty brought by each new day.
I think she'd be happy that I'm doing something that I like. I think she'd be proud that these photos are helping other people and people are telling me that the photos help them. And I also think she'd be really miffed at me for talking so much about her.
You know, there's something about being out in nature that kind of touches all of us, and Mark has taken some of his best pictures and put them together in a gorgeous, stunning book called Sunrise, a photographic journey of comfort, healing, and inspiration, and it's dedicated to his wife Judith, and it's available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever it is you buy books. But it was getting out of the house that helped give Mark that break, but also the connection of sharing the photos with others that helped lighten the burden that he was carrying. Amy, what impressed you the most about Mark's story?
Well, I paid close attention when he said what his biggest mistake was, because I love to learn from other people's mistakes. Perhaps that keeps us from making them ourselves. And he said his biggest mistake was isolating. I mean, of course you're going to be sad. Of course you're going to be devastated. But he lived there, and that's all he focused on was his wife's diagnosis, and he shut the world out. And it was once he finally started connecting with people that he found some joy and some hope once again.
Through our senses, we can so effectively connect with the present moment.
Welcome back to What's Next. I'm Amy Sweezy. Gretchen Rubin is one of the world's most influential observers of happiness and human nature. She's the author of multiple blockbuster New York Times bestsellers, including The Happiness Project, and her latest book is called Life in 5 Senses: How Exploring the Senses Got Me Out of My Head and Into the World. Now, what started with a visit to the eye doctor for a case of pink eye turned into an experiment to notice what she could hear, see, smell, taste, and touch by going to the Metropolitan Museum of Art every day. She invites us to get curious about what we could all do to connect to our senses and consider why that matters.
This is something that you don't have to make an appointment. You don't have to go out of your way. You don't have to run an errand. You don't have to spend time, energy, or money. This is happening all around us all the time. And you can do big, ambitious things like me going to the Met, or you can just do fun things like, okay, I'm going to stop and really taste some Heinz ketchup and notice how it hits all 5 tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. And in that way, connect with the moment. I love the sense of smell. And one of the things I love about the sense of smell is you can't bookmark it. You can't save it for later. You can't glut yourself on it. You can only experience it now. And if you keep trying to experience it, like you can listen to a song on a loop, but you can't keep experiencing a smell because of odor fatigue. You'll adapt to it and you won't even be able to keep smelling it. So it is through our senses, we can so effectively connect with the present moment, appreciate the world that is around us, something that people crave. And yet there's a playful, fun, lively way to do this. Because I think sometimes when people think about it, it feels like a lot of work. You know, it feels like, oh, I got to discipline the mind. It's like, okay, well, you could do that, or you could do something more fun, and and just tap into that, the kind of playfulness and the concreteness of the 5 senses.
Good food for thought, huh? You know how people always say the picture won't do it justice, right? You're at a location, you take a beautiful photo of the Grand Canyon, and it's just not the same as seeing it with your own eyes. So I think the sense that I use the most, that I have, is my eyesight. I like to just put the phone down and just soak it in with my eyes. But since my little bout with COVID a couple of years ago, I have lost, in a big way, my sense of taste and smell. I can taste a little bit, I can smell a little bit, but it's not the same as before. It's once you lose a sense that you can't fully appreciate it until you don't have it anymore. So what about you guys? What sense do you notice the most, and which one do you use the least? Mark, what about you?
I'm with you as far as the sight. I'm with Mark Potter. Sight is the one. I'm a visual person that I lean on the most. And as far as the least, I'm going to have to go with hearing, only because it is sound that on occasion will aggravate me and annoy me more than anything else. Dr. James?
I was 3 for 3. I would say sight for me as well. I think and see in pictures, and Andy Andrews' book, The Noticer, has helped me with that tremendously. I notice a lot more than I did in the past. As far as what I don't utilize as well, that I have to improve, that would be taste. That would be taste. A lot of things begin to taste the same, but I made a lemon zest pasta recently, and that lemon zest popped. Wow, I can taste the lemon, I can taste the garlic, I can taste the pepper, everything. Yes. So I will be improving my sense of taste.
Really don't know what you're talking about, Dr. James. I think you should bring some in for everybody to share at some point. I downloaded an app recently where you go outside and you hold your phone up and it tells you all of the birds that it hears. It just pops them up one after the other. And it kind of taught me for a second to shut up for a minute and really listen. We think we listen, but we just don't hear.
They all have hearts, and they know when you're moving, it can be heart-wrenching.
Welcome back to What's Next. Alan and Rosalind Gantz lived in the same house in Massachusetts for 56 years. And, as they approached their mid-80s, it was their daughter, Lisa, who convinced them that it was finally time to downsize. So the Gantzes moved into a condo in South Florida. But within a couple of years there, they wanted to be closer to family who lived in Central Florida. So they joined a waiting list at an independent and assisted living community near their daughter's home. And when a unit became available, they only had 1 week to move in. The first move was exhausting, it was stressful, it was a challenge for the whole family. So this time, smartly, they reached out for some help.
It is like a major role reversal, that you become the parent for the children to say you need to get rid of this, you don't need it anymore. It was really going to be too much for my husband and I to physically move them and clean out and leave stuff and determine what was going to be needed to brought up.
Lisa's stress only increased when the first company they hired backed out at the very last minute. Fortunately, they found Caring Transitions.
We help retirees and seniors transition. We really feel like we're just a one-stop shop of being able to provide any of those clients with resources. I think that there was just that sense of relief. I wanted her to feel that mom and dad were safe, that they had their belongings, everything made it, and that they could actually live there day one, night one.
It's very important to have the right people. They have to be compassionate, they have to be understanding with elderly people at that phase of life that don't want to leave where they are.
They all have hearts, and they know when you're moving, it can be heart-wrenching.
I'm so passionate about this business because I want people to be able to age with grace. You should be able to have a life that you are happy to live, and moving and joining these communities will make that happen for you.
They were phenomenal. I didn't realize to what extent they take care of everything until I saw them in action.
I didn't have to worry about anything. They packed up every drawer, they unpacked every drawer. They put everything in all their dresses for them. They unpacked the entire bathroom. They hung things in the closet. So everything was done in one day. Like, they moved up and they were ready to go into bed and not have to go, oh, look at all these boxes. So for me, it was a peace of mind. The move couldn't have gone any better. I would highly recommend them to anybody that asks me, because it really did make this final move great. And it's been the best thing for them. I've never seen them so busy.
Well, I was very happy that I was going to be with everybody and that I would be able to see our 2 great-grandchildren grow up, and they would know us as Nana and Grampy and be in their lives constantly.
The move was very, very easy to do. because the company that moved us made it simple. Nobody could do it any better as far as I'm concerned.
Transitions obviously are a part of everyone's life, and moving, downsizing is a big one, and having help, especially as we age, is important. But so many of us try to do it on our own. So Dr. James, what do you think? Why do so many not only resist change, but also resist help as we age?
Wow. I think, Mark, it's the words that we associate with help. Weakness, not strong enough, not smart enough, feeble. And those are wrong descriptors. Help just says, I could use additional support to help me get there faster, to help me get it done quicker. I'm adding additional resources. So we change our thinking and our approach. We'll change the amount of help we get. It's just going to make us stronger, get there quicker. I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have the support and the help of people like you. And I wasn't always that way. When I started my corporate career, I never raised my hand for help because I didn't want them to think I wasn't qualified. I didn't know enough. I wasn't resourceful. So I was quiet and tried to figure it out myself. Bad plan, bad plan.
It was the Beatles who said it first back in 1967, and I think Joe Cocker said it again in 1968. I get by with a little help from my friends, and I'm going to try with a little help from my friends. And that's exactly what 93-year-old Everett Kalin got from his 57-year-old son and their 19-year-old granddaughter. The three generations of Kalins climbed Half Dome in Yosemite, and their last few steps to the summit are our bold social clip of the week. Everett, by the way, is believed to be the oldest person to ever make that climb. And Everett says he asked himself, now that I'm in my 90s, what are some things that I'd like to do? And Half Dome was the first thing that popped into my mind. Of course, he did need a little help from his friends.
Welcome back to What's Next. I'm Bill Schaefer. We heard from Gretchen Rubin earlier. In her new book, Life in 5 Senses, she creates this 5 senses profile. Check out our Facebook page and let us know what your signature sights and sounds and smells, tastes and touches would be. And we asked everybody in the What's Next panel to create their 5 senses profile as well. I'm going to start this off, guys, because of course you got to start a floor so you can build higher. Here's mine. I was thinking about this. The sight of the color blue like a bright, clear sky, I always pay attention to that, always notice it. The sound of birds, like I mentioned earlier, chirping in the morning. The smell of orange blossoms on the trees in the backyard is just very noticeable and overwhelming. And for me, the feel of diving into an ice-cold pool on a hot day. And when it comes to taste, I'd say the taste of black cherry cola. All right, Amy, can you make more senses out of my senses than that?
Okay, I like it. I agree with some of those. This makes it tough. My sight, I'm going to go with the sunrise because it's just hope of a brand new day, right? Anytime you see that gorgeous sunrise over the horizon. With smell, I was going to say cookies, but I'm going to go specifically with the Yankee Candle Christmas cookie scent, because that lasts year round and it's fantastic. Touch is hugs from my kids. Taste is going to be chocolate, anything chocolate, dark, milk, white, doesn't matter, love chocolate. And then for sound, I'm going with 80s music. I'm a child of the 80s, so any kind of 80s rock song just makes me feel like a kid again. Dr. James, how about you?
Amy, we have a lot in common. For me, the taste of chocolate chip cookies. What? The sound of the ocean, as well as for a touch, a nice hug, feel a nice hug, and not the pat on the back hug, the heart-to-heart hug. Those are some of my highlights.
You know, I want to steal some of your guys, but I'll go with this. Sight, my kids laughing. Sound, a steady rain on the roof when I'm taking a nap. Smell, the morning espresso. Feel, the full body buzz that you get after a vigorous workout. And taste, the third or the fourth sip of a fine red wine. Not much can beat that. You know, guys, almost every philosopher from the beginning of time to this very moment has said that the key to life is to live in the moment, to expand the now to the extent that we can, to tune out the noise. But getting into the now and staying there is not easy. But Gretchen Rubin has really identified a great and easy pathway, simply focusing on our 5 senses. Incredible tools that we all take for granted but can anchor us in the present moment. So give it a try. Luxuriate in your senses. Savor the moment, because time is limited. It's irreversible. So be fully awake, be aware, and always be looking for what's next. We'll see you next time.